All right, next. So, hey, what's up, y'all? It's your boy Preston back at it again, and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And the next fight that we got and stuff is Jesus Ramos Jr. versus Shane Mosley Jr. And overall and stuff like that, I feel like stylistically this is gonna be a good fight, and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And that's the thing and shit. And I feel like that honestly, both these, and the reason why is because both these fighters need this kind of fight, and shit like that. You know what I mean? Both these fighters need this kind of fight where because it a win of each of what, regardless if it's Jesus Ramos Jr., regardless if it's Shane Mosley Jr., regardless and stuff like that. You know what I mean? This is gonna make it. This makes this more of a tougher fight, and shit like that. And more makes it more like kind of more of a meaningful fight because the loser of this fight is gonna definitely break him. The winner of this fight is gonna make it is gonna help him, and shit. So, and that's the thing. And both of these fighters have a lot to win for, and shit like that. You know what I mean? And that's the thing and shit like that. You know what I mean? But yeah, and stuff like that. But we're gonna quickly go into what these fighters need to do to winning this fight. Or let's just go into actually these fighters' record. Alrighty, so we got Jesus Alejandro Ramos Jr. with the record of 23 wins, 1 loss, 19 wins coming by way of knockout. That is a very good record. Shane Mosley Jr. is coming into this fight at a record of 22 wins, 4 losses, 0 draws, 12 wins coming by way of knockout. And overall, he's been having a good winning streak, to be honest with you. And he he did beat Daniel Jacobs and stuff like that, but I mean, he's been very inactive though, and shit like that, you know what I mean? And that's the thing and shit, but do I remember that fight? I think I remember when he beat Danny Jacobs, like if I'm not mistaken, and shit like that, but yeah, and stuff like that. All right, so what these fighters need to do to winning this fight. I'm going to start off with, I believe, is the underdog of this fight, and I'm pretty sure it's the underdog of this fight of Shane Mosley Jr., and stuff like that, you know what I mean? What Shane Mosley Jr. needs to do and stuff like that, is use patient outside boxing. Because the one thing with Jesus Ramos, even though he does do good at fighting those kind of boxers and shit like that, but if you could stick to the game plan and mix it up with that kind of game plan, it like he does kind of struggle with that kind of stuff, and stuff like that, and that's the thing and shit, and stuff. But if he could be able to really mix it up and be able to be able to put some pop in those punches, and stuff like that, because overall the person that does have the quicker footwork, and stuff like that in this fight is Shane Mosley Jr. I believe, and shit like that, you know what I mean? And that's the thing and shit. Even though like Ramos. Like, well, I wouldn't actually say quicker. I would more just say, like, like, naturally, he is he is the boxer, and shit. And when you are the boxer, like, well, not really nowadays. Nowadays, it's very much different, you could be a pressure fighter, boxer, it doesn't really matter and shit like that, you know what I mean? But, but it's just, he got to utilize his outside rhythm and shit like that, you know what I mean? And utilize his skin. Also, he also does decent fighting a little bit in the inside, but I wouldn't really recommend fighting in the inside, really. That's really only certain fights that he can do that, and shit like that, and I don't think it's really this fight that he can really end up doing that, and shit like that, you know what I mean? So, it's just like, he just got to stick to his rhythm and shit, utilize his footwork, and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Box well and stuff like that, use very rhythmy boxing and shit, and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And that's the thing and shit like that, and that's what Mosley got to do to winning this fight. Jesus Ramos, what I would like to see him use and stuff like that, is definitely more creative boxing, and stuff, because I feel like he is trying to use more creative skills. It's stuff like that, it's stuff like, it's stuff like that going against, tougher fighters, because even when he fought, Eric Salubin and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Like, it's like he was he was able to hang with Erickson Lubin with his footwork and shit, but he was getting lost in the jungle a lot of the time, and shit like that. What I mean is where it just, he would get the angles cut, and then it just, there would be nobody right there, and then Lubin would just hit him and shit like that, and counter him, and shit like that, you know what I mean? And he utilized that jab just all night on Ramos, and shit like that, you know what I mean? And that's the thing and shit like that, like, he got to use better boxing and shit, and stuff like that, like, and the main thing is throwing whatever's the more effective punching, and shit like that. Don't like even though Ramos is a beautiful body puncher, and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like he is a beautiful body puncher, and one of the best in his division at body punching, and shit like that. You know what I mean? But it just like at the same time when you're going against somebody that's still getting the advantage and shit like that over you, you need to be able to know what you need to do and shit like that, where where you can be able to still be the more of the aggressor and be the more of the power puncher and shit like that. You know what I mean? And that's the thing and shit like that. Like and for one, it's just like if the face is open, don't just keep tagging the body. Try to tag the face too, and shit like that. Don't just be so involved into the body and shit like that. The body shots, like is there, man. And it's always gonna be there for you. You know what I mean? But it's just more of like you got to mix it up with your own skill, and shit like with your own patience and shit like that, you know what I mean? And you need to know how to utilize where you can be able to still, win, in a boxing clinic, against fights like this and shit like that, you know what I mean? So I'm just saying, man, this is gonna be a test of a fight for both fighters and shit like that, you know what I mean? And that's the thing and shit, and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And yeah, and shit like that, But what these fighters need to do to winning this fight, and stuff like that, you know what I mean? What these fighters need to do to winning this fight, and shit like that, what these fighters need to do to winning this fight and shit like that, or not what these fighters need to do. Now, like, who do I see winning this fight round for round? So in the early rounds, and stuff like that, you know what I mean? I see where Jesus Ramos is. I'm guessing if this is a 10-round fight. So I'm going to give the first 4 rounds to Jesus Ramos. But then I'm going to give the next 3 rounds to Shane Mosley Jr. So 5, 6, 7. So 5. So 5, 6, 7. And Shay, so 4 rounds to 3. 7, 8, 9, 10. So, and then after that, I see the next 3 rounds being in favor of Jesus Ramos, and stuff like that. Even though a lot of people are probably going to think that this is going to be a must to win, matchup for Jesus Ramos. But I'm not going to lie, like, Shane Mosley Jr. isn't no slouch, man. He knows how to win, and shit like that, and he is going to get his dues in this fight, and shit like that, you know what I mean? But it's not going to be as good, to be able to defeat Jesus Ramos, and stuff like that, you know what I mean? But yeah, and shit like that, But my final prediction of this fight, and stuff like that, is that I got Jesus Ramos winning this fight by a unanimous decision. Maybe a majority decision, but I'm going to be more comfortable saying a unanimous decision, and shit like that, you know what I mean? And yeah, but thank y'all for watching this video. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Let me see. I don't know if I got any more. I think I covered everything now, so... no, I got one more fight, and stuff like that. So thank y'all for watching this video. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Stay tuned for the next video. Peace out, y'all. Alright, y'all, so I'm just gonna add this, onto this video, and stuff like that, you know what I mean? But basically, who I got between Frank Bart and Rances Barthelemy is going to be a very competitive fight, man. I see it being a very competitive fight, and stuff like that. The early rounds and stuff like that, I feel like the first 2 rounds, I'm going to give that to Rances Barthelemy, and stuff like that, Like, I wouldn't be shocked if he wins, the first 4 rounds or whatever, but I'm going to give just the first 2 rounds to Rances Barthelemy, and stuff like that, you know what I mean? The next 2 rounds and stuff like that, I'm going to give the next one to Rances, and then the next one to Frank Martin. So I have it 3 rounds to 1 in favor of Rances Barthelemy, and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And then after that, and stuff like that, I see, after that, I see round 5 and round 6 being in favor of Frank Martin. And then I'm going to say round 7 in favor of Frank Martin, and stuff like that, you know what I mean? But then, so then I have it 4 rounds to 3 in favor of Frank Martin. But then the last 3 rounds is what's going to be very competitive and shit like that, in my opinion, and stuff like that, and that's the thing and shit, and stuff like that, but yeah, and stuff like that, but then I would say like the So what round are we at and stuff like that, you know? So so eight. So I would say round eight. So we're at eight right now and stuff like that, you know. So I would say that round eight and stuff like that, you know, would be. I'm gonna give that. I'm gonna give that to Rances Barthelemy and stuff like that, you know. Or I'm gonna just say this: who's gonna win? Who's gonna get come away with the victory? I don't really know, man. You know what? I'm gonna go with the you know what? I wouldn't be shocked if Rances Barthelemy won. But at the same time, I think the right answer is going to be Frank Martin. But yeah, but thank y'all for watching this video. Make sure you guys like, subscribe. Peace out.